Next, an update from Puerto Rico. Nearly 4 months after Hurricane Maria ravaged the island in late September, as Jeffrey Brown explores, the return to anything like normal life for most residents has been agonizingly slow.
Official figures show that of the island's 1.5 million customers, just 900,000 have had their power restored. Businesses continue to struggle, and many schools remain closed. Special correspondent Monica Villamizar is in Puerto Rico with the NewsHour team, looking at how people there are coping. She joins us from Caguas. And Monica, first, just give us a sense of what it feels like there. What are people telling you about the impact on their lives? How easy is it to get around?
Well, Jeff, mobility has certainly improved in San Juan, the capital, but there's still many things that need to be fixed. There's snapped power lines. 8 out of 10 traffic lights are not working, so you can imagine what that does to traffic. It's pretty chaotic at times. And as soon as you leave the capital, then things are much worse, and there's a lot of devastation still. There's debris near the roads, there's collapsed trees, collapsed buildings that have not been repaired, and a lot of crops that will simply not grow back. So for instance, in supermarkets and restaurants, there's no fruit, there's no plantains, there's a scarcity of goods still here in the island. And, Puerto Ricans are trying to rebuild. They've been very resilient and dignified, but frankly, they are a traumatized population at this point. Many times we were interviewing people and they teared up because, it's a kind of a secondary phase that they're living now, which is when things are starting to sink in. Many of them lost everything they had worked for, and there is no clear horizon or future ahead of them.
Yeah.
Many say we just simply don't know what to do.
One of the key issues there, I know, is security, including growing crime. What are you seeing, and what kind of impact is that having on people?
You're absolutely right. The numbers are worrying. They say 32 people have been murdered this year, so in about 10 days, and that's extremely high for Puerto Rico. Our sources are telling us that this is mostly drug-related, that there is some kind of turf war between drug gangs. These gangs were not active after the hurricane because they had to, rebuild themselves and had, all these situations going on in their families, and now crime is starting to pick up. But there's also a generalized feeling among the general public that there is insecurity. Streets are dark, for instance, because of the lack of power at night. The police are not there. There's less police presence because they are not being paid overtime, and they haven't been paid, so they're less motivated to go to work. So it's kind of a chain of events that means that the security situation is deteriorating.
And I know that you're also looking at the situation for schools, the issue of how many schools are open, and also how many people, including students and teachers, have left the island. What impact is that having?
That's having a very big impact, and I can tell you that the Federation of Teachers, who have very reliable statistics on this, are telling us that 23,000 students have already left to the mainland. They're saying as well that a number of teachers have left. Now, these teachers are very qualified. They're seeking jobs in Florida, New York, other places. So that means there's effectively a brain drain on the island. These people will not be replaced, and that's going to have an impact. And also, the Secretary of Education, Julia Kelleher, has said, some schools will just simply not reopen because there was not enough enrollment. The classes are empty. So there's been a real shift, or there will be a real shift in demographics in the island as people try to leave for the mainland to try to, find a better future. And that's going to have an impact not only in the education sector, but in other sectors as well.
Just briefly, you've mentioned several times the power lines, the impact on the security. So power continues to be a problem there.
A very big problem indeed, and the director of PREPA, which is the electric authority, said, maybe like 40% of people don't have power now, and maybe they won't get it until May. So that means, Jeff, that they will be living off generators, for those who can afford the generators and the fuel, for 8 months to have their things refrigerated, medicine, refrigerated in freezers. It's just changed their life completely. And more worryingly, perhaps, is that they're now realizing that these are all short-term fixes. The whole power system of Puerto Rico is very old. It was very poorly maintained, so maybe some things will have to be rebuilt from scratch, but that's a big problem because the island is bankrupt and the power authority has no money either. So it's a very dire situation.
All right, Monica, I know you and your team will have stories for us in the coming days. For now, Monica Villamizar, thanks very much.
Thank you, Jeff.